audio inputs and outputs. In this training module, we'll talk about how the audio inputs and outputs in the ZonePro series products can be configured. The ZonePro 640 and 641 models have 2 switchable mic line inputs and 4 pairs of mono-summed RCA inputs. The 1260 and 1261 models also have 2 switchable mic line inputs, but 8 pairs of unbalanced mono-summed RCA inputs. The ZonePro 640M and 641M models have 4 switchable mic line inputs and 2 pairs of mono-summed RCA inputs. The ZonePro 1260M and 1261M models have 6 switchable mic line inputs and 4 pairs of mono-summed RCA inputs. The 1260, 1261, 1260M, and 1261M also provide a stereo digital input. This is provided by a single SPDIF coaxial connection. Please note, the SPDIF protocol carries 2 channels of digital audio on a single connection. The switchable mic line inputs on these ZonePro devices can accept unbalanced or balanced lines. Each of these channels have a switch for switching between mic or line level. When these switches are set to mic level, 15 volts of phantom power will be supplied to the microphone. Also, when these switches are set to mic level, the mic gain pots will allow you to adjust for the sensitivity of your microphone. The signal clip indicators will give you a visual indication when signal or clipping is present. On the ZonePro series devices, when the RCA inputs are configured as mono, the ZonePro will automatically mono-sum these inputs by default. Using a program configured for mono sources, the 640 and 641 models can accommodate 2 mono sources and 4 stereo sources. Using a mono program in the 640M and 641M models accommodates 4 mono sources and 2 stereo sources. Using a mono program in the 1260 and 1261 models provides accommodation for 2 mono sources and 8 stereo analog sources, whereas the 1260M and 1261M models can accommodate 6 mono sources and 4 stereo analog sources. And of course, don't forget that all the 12 series ZonePro models also offer an additional input on the stereo SPDIF digital connection. Here we see the connection of 8 source devices, which are configured in the programming to be mono-summed. You can also configure the ZonePro's inputs as stereo. Here you see a program which has been configured with stereo sources. When the ZonePro's inputs are configured as stereo, they will accommodate half as many input sources. As you see in this diagram, the first source will occupy the first 2 pairs of RCA inputs. The second source will occupy the next 2 pairs of RCA inputs, and so on. Basically, in this type of configuration, you would use only 1 RCA connection per pair of RCA inputs. Typically, these inputs would only be configured as stereo sources if you actually had a stereo output zone and wished to retain the stereo image. Let's take a look at the ZonePro's outputs. The ZonePro 6 series offers 4 mono outputs or 2 stereo outputs. The ZonePro 12 series offers 6 mono outputs or 3 stereo outputs. These are configured based upon what type of crossover you select in your programming. We'll talk more about this in a later training module. Each of these outputs can be wired as balanced or unbalanced.